So that's the two roads. I'm going to quickly go through what I see as the shutdown learner style kid, and basically these are discouraged kids that over time have gotten discouraged. There are indicators as early as preschool. Some schools that I know, certainly not in your district, have what I see as a wait and fail model. And I think some children fall into that gray zone of, I call it the zone of no zone. You know, they don't get classified, they're not special needs, but they're struggling. And those are shut down. Many of the kids in my book were never classified. But there are indicators very early. If you're a mom, I'm jumping ahead on where I shouldn't do that, I should stay linear, but if you're a mom, you know the indicators at 4 years old. You have concerns, and I see a couple of head nods. You know at 4 and 5 that there's something wrong. I do think the schools need to be a little bit, I'm not school bashing, but a little tweaking here. I think schools need to be a little bit better in kind of conveying to the parent, you know, not this, well, you know, he's a boy, forget about it. You know how boys are, thanks. You know how boys are. You need to try and help them identify early what these issues are, and to the extent possible with early identification. So there are issues in preschool and kindergarten that can be seen. You know, it's the left side of the bell-shaped curve that we're talking about here today. This is my other image of the two roads. It's sort of like, and it could be for a host of reasons that you're on that left side of the curve, you know. I have a little pointer here I could use to get it right there. From that midpoint down, that's what we're talking about. And why is a soup pot here? This is my other scientific explanation of things. Parents want to come in and say, well, is he ADHD? I just spent 3 hours with a kid. I said, well, my skin crawl index is running high, so yeah, he's ADHD. You know, that's my joke. You know, like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get out of the room, he's ADHD. You know, something like that. You know, or is he dyslexic? As if it's a broken bone. To me, it's a soup pot of variables, gang. These things co-occur. And I know soup pot is not the most scientific of images, but it's the one that I use. It's an image that I think applies. And when the more you think about these things kind of co-occurring, that you get your mind around it a little bit better. The classic features that I talk about, this is my ground zero sort of special, like shutdown learner kid. I call them Lego kids. That's another image. It's amazing to me how hands-on these kids are. And I'm going to give you some pictures and show you, because people like pictures, of some shutdown learner style kids. These are kids that thrive with visual, spatial, mechanical thinking. They love it, but they're not doing so well in school. That to me is my ground zero kind of kid. Here's a good picture of it. This is in the book. That boy dreaming, thinking about building bridges. And this is not an exaggeration. I have kids that are, I could show you some pictures of them. I brought in, he made all kinds of stuff for me, and I feel really almost guilty that I didn't bring it because it was too much for me to manage. But he knew I was having a workshop this week, and he made stuff for me. He's like, I mean, the mom's sending me photos, and, you know, it's great. But Alex, I'm sitting there with him testing, and he says, give me 2 pieces of paper. I'm like, okay. So I hand him 2 pieces of paper, and he starts to make this star. I'll show you his picture a little later. I mean, this does from a distance doesn't maybe look like much, but I can tell you, gang, if I had these 2 pieces of paper, I could literally spend the whole day trying to make this star. This is like a ninja thing. I could throw this thing and it could, you know, I could literally sit all day trying to figure out how to make this thing, and it wouldn't happen. This kid has a gift that blew me away. Not just because he can make this, but he can make a range of different kinds of things. Okay? So this is kind of what my shutdown learner style kid is. Now, you won't see this on the PowerPoint very well, but Brian, these are stories. These are people that come to mind for me. Brian was a very real child. I met him a number of years ago, and he told me how much he hated science. Hates it, detests it. So you see in the picture, he's like slumped over, you know, and the teacher's like, "Now, class, we are going to be talking about frogs, turtles, and reptiles." And the kid is like, "Oh, do we have to talk about frogs, turtles, and reptiles again?" That's, you know, he's really bored. And I said to Brian, "What do you like to do?" "Oh, I love nature. I love frogs, turtles, and reptiles." And he collected these in the local swamp. And he made in his garage these incredible terrariums that could probably put, like, you know, I don't know, whatever the top chef for terrarium making thing is, you know, like top chef making terrarium, you know what I mean? Like botanist guys putting together these terrariums, but yet he hated science because for him it wasn't hands-on, it wasn't spatial, it wasn't tangible. I don't want to dwell on the cracks in the foundation. This is in your handout, which we're going to go on, okay? But I want to show you some pictures of this. You'll see that in your handout. It's important to have that handout that I gave you close by, because we're going to jump off of the PowerPoint in a minute or two. This is very important. I think, Senator, you would appreciate this. This is the trajectory of shutting down and why you need to act early. I forget that I had a pointer. The earlier you act, and the earlier the moms can say, "You know what? I need help. I want to get some tutoring. You know, if I can, or get this." Early intervention is the absolute key. We find this in the research over and over again. Waiting and failing is just not the model. And I think that if you could, even if the kid isn't classified, get them early, you know, because you see how wide the gap is by 5th grade. By 5th grade, you see that, in a sense, these are our shutdown learner style kids, and these are the ones that aren't. Another image I use, I make my kids nuts on this. "Dad, must you use another metaphor? Must you use another image?" I mean, I can't stop myself. But this is another way to think about a shutdown learner style kid. You know, kind of air leaking out of the tire over time. And I wanted to read a quote from Helen. Helen is a mom of a shutdown learner style kid. His name is Alex. Alex was in this week to see me. He's now a senior in high school. I've been seeing Alex since he was in 4th or 5th grade, and frankly, see my hair? I used to have dark hair, and I think one of the major contributors to it is Alex, and he's still making me crazy, but, you know, these are challenging kids, as I've said. Anyway, I said to Helen, this is me speaking to her, "The shutdown learner's motivation often seeps out, like the air seeps out of a pinhole in a tire, as they experience more and more failure. What do you remember about the difficulty with school beginning to emerge for Alex?" She said, these are exactly what she did. For Alex, it wasn't the air slowly seeping out. I think there was a big puncture in 1st grade, because the teacher gave the kids worksheet after worksheet after worksheet. It was phonics, it was reading comprehension and addition. It didn't matter. It was entirely too much for him. Effectively, Alex was was being taught in the 6-foot water when he was basically in the 3-foot water. That's what her message is in there. He would come home at the end of the day with a half dozen of these worksheets, which he was asked to complete for homework, on top of all the ones he did not complete in school. The teacher would send a note home saying, "This is what Alex did not do in class, and he needs to complete them tonight." And Helen says, "Can you imagine 1st grade? I mean, how discouraging would that be for a 1st grader to feel like a failure because he's not able to keep up in the 6-foot water when he's really a 3-foot water kind of person, you see?" So That's how the air leaks out. Now I'm going to show you Anthony. I'm going to skip all the boring stuff. Now, you can't really see this that well because I did this on my BlackBerry, believe it or not. I am a low-tech operation. I don't have a lot of good technology. But this is a paper and pencil task. The school psychologists out there, how many of you are schools? Oh, there you go, good. Will appreciate the bender. And this is, as they know, if they can see it, a wonderful bender, is it not? The bender is very visually, this kid had to copy these shapes and designs and organize them on the page. It's like picture perfect. It's like I can't imagine doing it better. So it gives me clues as a detective right from the start that this is a spatial type thinker. The school psychologists are going to love this part. Okay, here we go. And look at this. The kid's putting together pretty complex designs. Ignore the pretzels and the Capri Sun drink on the side. Yeah, we're having a little bit of a party as I do the testing. That's kind of how I do it, you know. I try to make kids feel good about their testing, you know. I try to have them. But you know, look at how spatially organized he is, you know. And the kid even he's very proud of himself. He says, okay, I can build my own thing with him. So, you know, when we stop the testing, he builds his own towers. This wasn't part of the test, but it gives you a sense of how spatially put together he is. Okay? Now, again, you can't see this very well, but here's a picture of it that he drew of a house, a tree, and a person. Would somebody just like to comment on it for a second? People love drawings, and they like commenting on it. Somebody comment, both I'm not saying from an artist's point of view necessarily, but yeah, from that as well as, what are you getting, if you can see it? It's a little dark, I understand, for the people that are in this part of the room. Yeah, makes it loud, because the acoustics are really, yeah. Psychologically speaking, maybe he feels alone, and that's why he's up in a tree by himself. Anybody else want a great comment? Anybody else want to comment on that?
I just thought the same thing. I felt like isolation.
Yeah, isolation. Yeah, it jumped out at me. And it's such an interesting drawing. And you can spend, I won't do it, I promise, gang. I know it's Friday. We'll move on, Richard. You know, but we can spend an hour just talking about the drawing. Yeah, well supported, building on the building skills in here. You know, he's kind of well supported, and this kid he has a very supportive family system. By the way, the mom and dad were great in terms of support. Anybody else want to comment? So you got isolation, support. The kid's up in this tree. You know, he wants access to the world, but kind of like a little afraid of it. That's what I would take out of it, wouldn't you? Yeah. Maybe?
Well, I think he's facing outward, so he looks like he has a big picture of things.
Yeah, facing outward. He looks like he has a big picture of things. That's right. And this is part of a family drawing. And you can't really see it that well, but up here, he's skiing. And they're all up in the top of the mountain, and he's down here with this, it looks like he's like the Lone Ranger with like a mask on or something, you know? But it's his ski goggles. But he's leading his family. Anybody want to comment on that for a second?
Is he facing outward or is he facing up?
Well, I'm sorry?
Is he facing back towards them?
He's kind of like a little turn. He's waiting for them. My sense is that he's waiting for them a little bit, and he's kind of, come on, let's go. That would be my sense of it. But there's a lot of action in this picture, isn't there? I mean, the kid has a sense of movement and action. Anybody else? I just throw this in because it doesn't look like much, but when I go on a break with the kids, when I do the testing, and I have them play with not such great toys, I like to see what they do with it. And it doesn't look like, but when kids start lining up the toys, and they start building garages, and creating imaginative scenes, that should be telling you something. That should be telling you something as a parent, and it should be telling you something as a teacher, that these visual, spatial type children, there's something going on there. And I give you a little more of that as well.